Hey everyone, Erin the Impatient Gardener here. We have reached May, and that means that it seems like a great time to review everything I planted in April. I hope to provide you these updates throughout the season. I thought this would be a good way to just kind of cover it all in one, although some of these same things might be discussed in other videos. But there's a lot of planting that happens that I don't show in videos, and I think sometimes people are interested. Maybe. I guess we'll find out when you either watch this video or you don't. So for reference, I live and garden in southeastern Wisconsin, zone 6A. Our springs are very late here. Even though I am considered a zone 6A, I believe our springs are more on like a zone 4 kind of timeline. So things move slowly here. So April is truly the first time we can get out and plant. And it wasn't really until the second half of April came around that I was able to really plant anything. So planting, the very first thing that went in was onions. I buy onion starts from Dixondale Farms. This year I bought Patterson, some red onion, and actually shallots. For the first time, I'm going to try growing shallots. I actually love shallots, and the only thing that keeps me from using them more often is that they're kind of pricey. All those things are kind of pricey, actually. So hopefully those will go well. We did get a few quite cold nights after that. They should have been fine in that, but we'll see how the whole crop grows. I did dedicate an entire raised bed, 4x8 raised bed, to onions this year, and I actually still kind of crammed them in a little bit at that. But hopefully have a really good harvest, because onions are one of those things that we really, really use. I also planted some arugula, and this was not something I started. My mom actually grew quite a bit of arugula using the winter sowing method, and she used Ziploc bags this year for that. She had some extra. I happily took them. They haven't really grown at all since I put them in, but they're still alive, and I love some arugula, so hopefully that will go well. Hey, it's Erin here doing an addendum to the video with these golden curls willows, which I planted in the pots on the edge of the driveway. I actually think those are the very first thing I planted, to be honest. So when I pulled out last year's, by the way, I've had those in there for the previous ones in for 2 years, and they were awesome. That's why I wanted to do the same thing again. And total bang for the buck on these. But they were so hard to get out. I actually broke the pot. So I broke the pot. That was a replacement for last year's broken pot. And then I literally broke the whole bottom off it, and I just stood it up, and I'm just praying that gravity works for the rest of the summer. I don't know what else to do about it, to be honest. But it was so hard to get them out that I'm like, we are never going through that again. So I use these, they're sort of like plastic, I don't know what they're meant to be, actually. They're like plastic sheets, thick plastic sheets. And I taped them together and created a tube. So then I planted in that. This goes all the way down to the bottom. So unlike the plant in the pot in a pot situation, this actually is a tube where the roots go all the way to the bottom. Filled that up with a lot of good stuff. And we're just going to try to grow them in there. I taped the edge with Gorilla Tape, and then I also tied a string around to try to keep that shut over the time as those roots expand. We'll see how that goes. But that's my way I'm going to try to keep these guys in check. And then I filled that up with really good soil and really good compost so that these willows reach for the water and go down, and that way I also preserve some planting space around them for annuals. So my hope is I'll get more years in this pot out of those plants by doing that method, but I just made it up, so we'll see. Then I got a few plants from Far Reaches Farm, 2 erythroniums, trout lilies, and I don't know the names of them. One blooms white and one blooms yellow. Our native one here tends to bloom yellow, at least the one that I have in my yard, but it doesn't bloom very often. The blooms are kind of smaller, although I did find a patch that I showed in last week's garden stroll video where they had really nice flowers or buds on them coming. When you buy those kinds of plants online, you're basically planting just foliage because they've already done their thing. So they're shipping them out at that point. So we'll have to just wait and see. I made sure to mark them. But I also got 3 Iris cristata. Iris cristata is a really lovely little, I believe it's native, woodland iris, very short and grows, well, all of them grow by rhizomes, but these hold their rhizomes like right at the surface. Really nice for like a woodland edge. So I planted 2 of those on the south side of the driveway where I sort of pulled up a bunch of grass last year, and I'm trying to make that all into essentially just ground cover underneath shrubs, and then a little bit in the shady border as well. I am always looking for new ground covers, and I would love to have that one. So I hope they take. They were really nice plants that I got for that. And I also don't know what variety that was, but it was white, if I'm not mistaken. This year I've gone a little crazy with clematis. I have ordered quite a few. Clematis are sort of my first plant that I really fell in love with, and this year I just wanted to add a lot more. So the first 2 clematis came, and I planted those. One of them is Silver Moon. Silver Moon is a pruning group 2, which means it blooms on old and new wood, clematis that I've had before, but I lost it. It was planted on the north side of the deck. It's one of the few, not a few, but it is one of the few clematis that can grow in a fairly shady spot. It will grow better in more sun, but it can grow and flower in a shadier spot. But somewhere along the line, I lost that one. I don't know if something ate it, like a plant ate it or an animal ate it, but I didn't have it anymore. And when I saw that it was still available on the Brushwood Nursery site, I thought, well, and I think it was even on sale for like $2 off or something. So I bought that one, and I planted that. This time I pulled it out, same garden, but I pulled it out away from the deck this time, and I have it growing up next to the Aurelia Silver Umbrella. And my hope is that I will just let that one go up that Aurelia, and it will grow there, and I think that would be quite lovely. I missed having that one in my garden. It's a beautiful one. It's the only group 2 clematis I have planted in ages, and I actually forgot when I was planting it that group 2 clematis are the type that you actually should plant several inches deeper in the soil, because it helps if you do have clematis wilt that comes, new shoots will come up on a group 2 one. So I forgot that until I planted it. So I just kind of piled up some more soil around it. There was plenty of, I was able to do that. So I sort of buried it after the fact. Possibly not the best way to do it, but I think it got the job done. And then the other one was Madame Julia Courier. I'm ruining a French, probably a famous French person's name. This is a sort of beautiful scarlet pink one. And I planted that in the garden that's kind of in the middle of the path to the garage. Last year I put American ginkgo in there. There is a Picea engelmanni Mr. Magoo there that is, it struggles a little bit on the bottom. It just keeps losing its branches on the bottom. I believe it's this spruce fungal disease that it might be suffering from. But it always has nice new branches on top. So it's got kind of these bare legs. So I keep planting things around the bottom to hide those bare legs, because I actually really, I'm looking at it right now. I actually really like that tree. I do have an Alba luxurians clematis that grows up it very well. And what I thought was that that area needed a little color. So that scarlet pinky color, I'm hoping is going to look really good with that kind of blue foliage of the spruce that's there. It was a big day because I was able to plant. It was also it was a big momentous occasion because I was finally able to plant the sweet peas out. Sweet peas are quite cold hardy, so they can handle even a light frost once they're hardened off. And I hope that's true, because that's what we're going to get tonight. But these were some of the best looking sweet peas I think I've ever grown. The roots were so healthy on them. I probably should have planted them out a week earlier than I did, but we were having some really cold temperatures, and I didn't want them to go out and be immediately subjected to cold temperatures. So they've had a week in the ground now to sort of get themselves ready for tonight's colder temperatures. So I just plant those in the vegetable garden in all of the sort of 4 middle beds, which are the ones that I use for cut flowers. I just plant them up, bamboo trellises there. I hope they do well. I couldn't tell you the varieties because I probably plant 20 different varieties. I will plant any sweet pea ever. I absolutely adore sweet peas. Then I always have a few left, so I planted those alongside the deck where the lilac Rise Up Days rose is hopefully gonna come back after a really tough winter. And I plant them there, and I saved the more highly scented varieties for that location so that they're right there at the back door. So I do always really cross my fingers that the sweet peas do well because they are one of those things that I would really miss if they didn't. I also planted out some Dacus. That's in the carrot families, very similar to Amy and those kinds of things. Kind of a purple umbellifer flower on top for those. New to me, that's something that I bought plugs from Farmer Bailey and shared those plugs with a gardening friend. So, which I'm really liking the whole plug thing. It does make things easier. So I planted those out. I put some of those in the cut flower beds, and I also put them in some of the beds on the north side of the house, which are still sun beds. They're just north of the house. But I wanted to kind of cut my losses because my understanding is that rabbits absolutely go crazy for those. So I thought I should put some in the vegetable garden just to hopefully get some of those out of it. I still have a few more of those in the greenhouse right now, so I'll have to get the rest of those planted out soon because those are one of those ones that wants to be planted out in cooler weather. And then last but not least, the biggest planting project of April was also the last one, which was planting the Pendula Bruns Siberian spruce in the garden right off the deck. This is an area that I posted a video about earlier this year where I'm kind of doing a big renovation in. Just haven't been satisfied with what's there and going for a different look there. So that was the biggest hole I've ever dug in my entire life. It was huge, and I used a combination of both the auger and a shovel to create a hole that was certainly much bigger than the pot was. It was a number 20 box, which we're not allowed to say 20 gallon. Well, I can do whatever I want, but you know what I mean. The nursery people aren't allowed to say 20 gallon, but I think that's what we sort of used to equate it to, but that's not really the volume measure on it. But it was a really big box, let's put it that way. And I was having the hardest time getting down any further, and I thought, well, I might just have to plant this high and then put some soil around it. And then I took one last crack with the auger, and I broke through what was kind of a hard clayish bottom, which is very unusual here, and went to 100% sand. I believe the soil in that garden is primarily fill from when the house was built because it's got way more clay content in it than anywhere else. It's nice clay soil. It's amended clay soil, amended over the years, mostly by me, I assume, but perhaps other people as well. So I'm glad I did that, but it's such a strange soil situation in this yard. I always wonder, like, what are the plants thinking when they start in whatever they're in, and then they end up, 3 feet down in 100% sand. Nothing I can do about it. So anyway, it was a real production to get that thing in the hole. It was really, really heavy and kind of unwieldy. So we used a dolly and a rope, and Mr. Much More Patient's back was not in good shape. He'd been doing a lot of log splitting that day and some back tweaking happened. So anyway, we got it in the hole, and I'm thrilled with it. I'm actually really loving it. So that was, I'm really glad I don't have to, I don't think I will ever plan on digging a hole that big again in my life, because that was crazy, crazy big. So that was that. And interestingly, explain to me how this happens. I dug that enormous hole, put that soil out of the hole, which is hard to even find a place for all that soil. And then I stuck this huge tree in there, and then all of that soil went back in that hole. I don't understand how that's possible, but it happens to me more often than not. So that's that. That Pendula bruns is kind of a columnar-ish, well, I'd say it's columnar spruce that can go a little like whimsical wonky. So it's staked, came staked, very upright. There's a little bend in the top. I'm probably going to extend that stake a little bit, because while I want a little bit of quirkiness, I don't want it yet, because it's probably only, let me look over there. It's probably 8 or 9 feet tall total with the at the top right now, which is pretty good size, but it's going to grow to like 20 or 30 feet eventually. And I don't want it to start going wonky at 9 feet and totally bend over. It can bend and quirk around higher, but I'm looking for something upright, not something to turn into some kind of sculpture type thing. So that is everything that I planted in April. We're going to make this video again in May, if I can keep track of everything I'm planting. And it's going to take a really long time, because things are really gearing up now. All right, well, let me know what you planted in April in the comments. And here comes May, like a freight train. All right, have a great day in your garden, everyone. We'll see you soon.